Hello summoners, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we'll be doing another tier list update for the month of November. We do have some massive changes. In fact, we just have an entirely new column called Prince. These are the champions who I think are like they have the potential of being in the highest tier of the game, but they're not there quite yet, or they're super new and still untested, and we'll see if they can stand the test of time. uh, when I say that, I mean champions like Photon and some newer buffs. Like Shuri isn't exactly a new buff at this point, and she has proven herself. That is why she went to, like, she did get a promotion. A lot of these champions were either downgraded from Your Grace, like Apocalypse, we'll talk about that later, or upgraded from Kingslayer, because I do think they are slightly better than the champions we have listed here. Now, coming to the two new characters, we had Chilith and also Kushala. Both decent enough characters. Kushala obviously being the better champion of the two. You can see a couple of tier difference here, and we also have to talk about Aegon, the Red Skull buff, and we basically have a long video on our hands. So let's start with the new tier actually, and let's start with the main talking points with the downgrades, especially with Apocalypse, because I think first of all, is it double P or single P? I think it's single P. I'm getting confused now, but doesn't really matter. Apocalypse, I think, has, like, he was a very solid champion. He still is. If you are able to fit in a cable with him, he's really good, because you start off with 4 charges and he has solid damage. He has a lot of utility. He's great for questing, a lot of content in Act 7 and all. He's gonna be really good for it. He has easy access to debuffs. But the problem with APOC that I feel, especially in endgame these days, is especially in battlegrounds and all, you can't use synergies. By himself at no persistent, like 1 persistent charge and all, he is not a great character when it comes to damage output. You just need too many special attacks to get all your debuffs, to get your damage. And in a quest, yeah, even without cable, sure, you can build him up, but it takes a lot of time. It kind of honestly feels like Morningstar ramp up. Morningstar at full persistent charges is a very strong character, one of the best in incursions, but she's still very down in the list. APOC is not as bad to build up for sure, but it's low, and honestly there's just so many faster options for questing and all that you probably won't need an Apocalypse. And it used to be alright because he used to be really good defender, but honestly these days you don't even, like, even if you ban the opponent's Nimrod, there's just so many other options that really easily takes him down. Even like Stark and Spider-Man, honestly, I personally use him a lot against APOC in battlegrounds, and he makes quick work of him. So overall, I think neither offensively nor defensively he isn't the threat he used to be, therefore being downgraded 1 tier. But at the same time, he is still a very strong champion, especially if you are not in the end game yet. I do think he brings a lot of value to your account and is a character that should absolutely be ranked up. You would notice only 3 characters in his particular class are above him. I really think it's single P. If someone can confirm in this looks right, but anyways, so that is why Apocalypse went down. Then we have Juggernaut, Hood. These 2 champions went up. Like, technically there was, this tier didn't exist, so they were already at the second highest tier, but I do think Hood and Juggernaut are better than your Longshot or Sigil Witch or Sorcerer Supreme. Freaking, as good characters as they are, I do think these champions bring more value. Clairvoyant was downgraded from Your Grace. I think the damage, she always lagged it, but at that point of time, champions like Warlock and Clairvoyant both actually downgraded this month's tier list. I think they were very utility focused champion, and while that was pretty good to have, now we have champions who have better damage and similar utility, or very niche utility specific. Like, at one time in the game, champions who covered checked a lot of boxes, your Swift army knives, they used to be really good to have, and still for a new account they're really good to have. But these days, if you're gonna go on a quest, there's a path. Generally speaking, there are always going to be a very specific niche options for that node or for that fight, for that quest. So champions who checks a lot of boxes are not, they're versatile for sure, and good rank up options therefore, but they're not going to be the best for anything, and they lack damage anyway. So for general questing, if you have majority of the champions in the game, you've been playing for a long time, you have them all ranked up, you're probably not going to use your warlocks and clairvoyants as much as you would have at one point. With that being said, Claire, I use her all the time in battlegrounds against a lot of matchups. She's not the fastest, but she gets the fight done, and she ends up at a very, very high health pool. She will save you a lot of potions as well because of her healing and all. So yeah, Hood and Juggernaut, they were upgraded because they do really, really well in battlegrounds and are kind of underrated. I wouldn't say they're underrated at this point. Like the top tier, like the end game players do recognize the potential, but at the same time, you don't see as many rank 5 6-star hoods as you would see rank 5 dooms, that's for sure. Then we have Kushala, who's... Let's talk about the two new characters. I'm going all over the place. We have a lot to talk about today. Kushala, I think, is definitely the better champion of the two that was released this month, and she is very, very good. She has so much damage potential, especially in a fight where the opponent has buffs. But even if they don't, you give the opponent buffs yourself. The SP1 incinerates are crazy. SP2, you just have a lot of damage over time going on, plus utility like blocking, unblockable attacks and all. She has so much going on for her. I think she is a really solid candidate to go in the final tier. I think she has the potential, and I just don't want to overhype any character, so she is just so very, very new. I want to see people using her in battlegrounds and other stuff more before doing that. So yeah, but I do think she is going to be better than most of these characters. And Magic is... she's always been good. She's the best power control champion in the game, but she's not available as a 6-star even now. And in a game with 7-star ascensions, like 6-star ascensions, Magic, like as a 5-star, sure, you can ascend her and get some use out of her, but at the same time, you'll have better options. So as long as we don't have a 6-star Magic, I don't want to talk too much about her. But with that being said, she is still a very strong champion. If you are a player who is still getting in the game, 5-star is still important to you. If you do pull a Magic, then she is still very, very powerful. So yeah, and that is it for this year. I think Titania, by the way, really clutching it for me in a lot of fights. I really like the fact that she's buff immune. It has been really helping me out in Alliance War, as well as like fights in battlegrounds and all over the place. So yeah, she is really, really strong for sure. Also you charge in and you have the indestructible going. She's very fun to play as well. And Morlock also has solid potential of going up. Hyperion, I don't think will ever be in the top tier again, but I do believe he is stronger than the champions listed in Kingsguard. That's why he's there, but I don't think he has real potential of going over to the highest tier again. Same can be said for APOC. Omega Red, I think he's very, very strong, but he just needs too much. He needs ideally to be awakened, to be at high signature level, to have a few synergies. Like, you don't need any of it, but all of them combined is what makes Omega Red crazy. And you also need to be running Suicide Mastery. It's just a lot you need. And whenever we go into a new star level, first of all, Omega Red is not available as a 7-star, but even if he becomes available, then 6 stones, high sig is just like by the time you have sig 200 rank 5 Omega Red, like next rank comes up. Like same thing happened with 5-stars. By the time you have like rank 5 sig 200 Omegas, 6-star Omega came out. So yeah, and also his playstyle is not for everyone. It's slightly slow. You want to get your spores, you get degen damage, stay close to opponent, you use your heavy constantly. So it's a lot of work. But people who love Omega Red, he is very, very strong. Given you have his playstyle, you give him everything, you have all the resources that he needs, and he definitely has the potential of being a very, very strong champion in the game. Okay, now moving on, let's talk about Aegon, because Necropolis, well, he is really good for it, and as well as every single Everest content in the game. He's alright for incursions as well. Very strong champion, but again, very niche uses. I do recommend ranking him up now, but you won't be using him in battlegrounds, you won't be using him in general questing. You could potentially, but there are better options. But the fact that if you rank him up, you do Necropolis, you get the rewards that you invested into him and more. So that way it does kind of make sense. If you're watching this video 2 years from now and the rewards are outdated, and maybe not. So Aegon is like very weird to rank. He's actually not in the tier list at all, if you ask me, because if you want to do certain piece of content, he's the best champion for it. And if you don't, then you can kind of ignore Aegon anyways, because he won't be the best for anything else. So that is what we have to talk about Aegon, because even in top 30 videos he doesn't make it usually, but now because of Necropolis I don't know if I should, but I think pretty much everybody knows what Aegon is good for and what he isn't good for. America Chavez, I think, is super underrated, a very strong character. She has so much damage, she has power gain, she's fairly easy to play, like getting all her charges and all. You can just charge into heavy attacks. It's just a lot of fun, and damage is insane. I have a 7-star America Chavez. I finished fights like 20-30 seconds, and at very good amount of health as well. Like basically because you can charge into heavy attacks, use your special, gain so much power back. The fights are quick and you don't take much for damage. Red Skull buff, I think it's pretty good. Honestly, like, he used to be here with Green Goblin, I believe. Now you have armor ups, you have power control, you have a solid like shock damage, I think, on SP2. The damage over time is what I remember. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's shock. And then SP1 you can refresh that, like pause that. So I remember I did the damage comparison with him and I was able to pause it 3 times, like the shock from SP2. So overall I do think he is, and he also has unstoppable somewhere on the SP2, I think. So overall, like, I remember him being pretty good, nothing crazy. I don't think his buff is as good as Rocket Raccoon or Nebula, but then he was much worse than pre-buff Nebula and pre-buff Rocket Raccoon. So he even actually might go up a tier maybe in the future, we'll see. And is that it? Let me know if you have any questions about the list. I did make a lot of changes, so I'm sure I'm not talking about something here that I did. Silk, by the way, has been proving herself, is a very strong champion. I don't have her, but I have seen a lot of insane gameplay, especially in Battlegrounds, and especially with the striker, of course. But that's pretty much gonna do it for this one. Do let me know if you have any questions down below, and if you are wondering, the synergy icon here are some of the listed synergies. And yeah, have a good day, like this video, share with your friends, stay safe, have a good one, and bye bye.